He told me I'd never make it. 6 years later, I bought his house. He doesn't know it's me yet. And when he finds out, I want him to feel exactly what I felt the day he threw me away. Hi, I'm Emily. I'm 24 years old. This is my story. Stay with me until the end, because the ending is the part he never saw coming. And trust me, if you leave before the last 2 minutes, you're going to miss the part everyone's talking about in the comments. I need to take you back to the beginning, because you won't understand how sweet this got until you understand how bitter it started. I met Daniel when I was 18, first year of university. He was 2 years older, confident, charming, the kind of boy who walked into a room and made everyone else feel smaller just by existing in it. I fell for him fast, too fast. He used to tell me I was different from other girls, that I understood him. Looking back now, I think what he meant was that I was easy to shape, easy to mold into whatever version of a girlfriend made him look good. For 4 years, I built my life around him. I skipped nights out with friends so I could help him study. I worked 2 part-time jobs so he could focus on his degree without financial stress. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was love. I believed in him more than I believed in myself. That was my first mistake. It wouldn't be my last. By the time we were 22, Daniel had graduated. He landed a job at a finance firm downtown. Good salary, good suits, good watch. And slowly, the boy I fell in love with started disappearing. In his place was someone colder. Someone who looked at me like I was behind schedule on a plan I never agreed to. He started comparing me to his colleagues' girlfriends, doctors, lawyers, women with 3-letter job titles and designer handbags. I was still waitressing to pay my share of rent while finishing my degree part-time. He never said it kindly. He said it like a fact, the same way you'd read a weather report. You're not exactly keeping up, are you? I laughed it off the first time. I cried about it the 10th time. By the 50th time, I stopped feeling anything at all. I just went numb, and I told myself numb was easier than hurting. Here's something I didn't understand back then. When someone chips away at you slowly, you don't notice how small you've become until you try to stand up straight again, and realize you've forgotten how. But here's the part that still makes my stomach turn even now. The night everything ended wasn't even about another woman. It was about a house. Daniel had just put an offer on his first property, a beautiful place. Old brick, big windows, a garden he'd been dreaming about since we were teenagers. He'd talked about that garden for years, sketching it on napkins, showing me pictures of rose bushes he wanted to plant one day. I remember helping him pick paint colors for a house I didn't even know I'd never live in. The night the offer was accepted, he took me to dinner. A nice place. Candles, white tablecloths, the kind of restaurant we could never usually afford. I thought it was a celebration for both of us. I thought this was the moment things finally clicked into place. I was wrong. He looked at me across the table, swirling his wine like he was rehearsing the line in his head all day, waiting for the perfect pause to drop it. And then he said it. I can't put your name on this house, Emily. You'll never make it. Not like me. I need someone on my level. I sat there frozen. 22 years old. For years given to a man who just told me, in a restaurant with soft lighting and other couples laughing around us, that I wasn't good enough to exist on paper next to his name. He didn't stutter. He didn't apologize. He said it the way you'd read out a grocery list. Calm. Practical. Final. I asked him to repeat it, because some part of me needed to hear it twice to actually believe a person could say something so cruel over dessert. He repeated it, word for word. He even added a small shrug at the end, like it barely cost him anything to destroy me. 2 weeks later, he ended it completely. Moved on fast. Too fast for someone who claimed he needed time to focus on his career. I found out later there'd been someone else for months already. A coworker. Someone with the job title he wanted to show off at parties. Someone who fit the picture he'd built in his head of what success was supposed to look like standing next to him. I want you to remember that dinner, because everything else in this story circles back to that table, that wine glass, and those 6 words. You'll never make it. Keep that sentence in your mind, because in about 20 minutes, I'm going to hand it right back to him. I'm not going to pretend the next year was easy. It wasn't. I moved into a shared flat with 2 strangers I found online, because I couldn't afford anywhere on my own. I slept on a mattress on the floor for the first 3 months, because I couldn't afford a bed frame. I worked mornings at a coffee shop and nights doing admin work for a small marketing agency, just to cover rent and finish my last year of school. There were nights I sat on that mattress and cried so hard I couldn't breathe. Not because I missed him, because I believed him. That was the part that nearly broke me. I actually believed I wasn't going to make it. I'd replay that dinner over and over, hearing his voice, wondering if he'd been right about me the whole time. My best friend, Grace, was the only person who kept pulling me back from that edge. She used to sit with me on that mattress some nights, not saying much, just staying, because she knew silence sometimes helps more than advice. One night she looked at me and said something I've never forgotten. She said, "He didn't see your potential, Emily. He saw his own fear of you outgrowing him." I didn't believe her then. I do now. But something happens when you hit a certain kind of bottom. You either stay there, or you get so angry that it turns into fuel. I chose the fuel. I chose it on purpose, on a Tuesday morning, staring at my reflection in a cracked bathroom mirror in that shared flat, telling myself I would never let another person's opinion decide who I was allowed to become. I want you to remember that feeling too, because it's coming back later, and this time, it won't be mine to carry alone. I finished my degree in marketing with the kind of grades I never thought I was capable of. Out of pure spite, if I'm honest. I wanted proof. Proof for myself, not for him. Though I won't lie, his voice was in my head every single exam, every single deadline, every single all-nighter fueled by cheap coffee and stubbornness. After graduation, I got a junior position at a small digital agency. It paid barely enough to survive, but I paid attention. I learned everything I could get my hands on. I stayed late when no one asked me to. I said yes to every project no one else wanted, the messy ones, the ones with impossible deadlines, because I knew that's where you actually learn something. Within a year, I was running small client accounts. Within 2 years, I was managing a team of my own. People started noticing something in me that Daniel never did. Potential. Actual, tangible potential, not the kind that gets dismissed over a wine glass. Here's where it gets interesting, because the story doesn't stay small for long, and if you've made it this far, the next part is exactly what you came here for. At 24, I did something that terrified me more than anything Daniel ever said to me. I left my stable job and started my own consulting agency. Just me, a laptop, and a list of contacts I'd built over 2 years of showing up early and leaving late. The first 3 months were brutal. I worked from that same shared flat, still on that mattress some nights when the bed frame I'd finally bought felt too far to walk to at 3 in the morning. I ate more instant noodles than I care to admit. But I had one advantage nobody could take from me. I had nothing left to lose, and everything left to prove. By month 4, I landed a client that changed everything. A mid-sized retail brand looking to rebuild their entire online presence from scratch. I poured everything into that pitch. Sleepless nights. Endless revisions. I treated it like it was my last chance on earth, because in my mind, it was. I got the contract. And that contract led to 3 more within the same year. Word spreads fast when you actually deliver results instead of empty promises dressed up in a nice suit. By the time I turned 25, my agency had 12 employees. A proper office with my name on the lease. Clients who used to ignore my emails were now the ones chasing me down for meetings. I remember the exact moment it stopped feeling like survival and started feeling like something else entirely. I was sitting in a meeting room, presenting a strategy to a client 3 times the size of my very first one. And a man across the table, a man old enough to be my father, called me the sharpest person in the room, without a hint of irony in his voice. I excused myself to the bathroom afterward and stood at the sink for a full minute, just staring at myself, trying to recognize the woman looking back. That wasn't the version of me Daniel left behind. That woman had built herself, brick by brick, out of the wreckage of a dinner table conversation that was supposed to end her before she even started. There were setbacks too. I won't pretend it was a straight line upward. I lost a major client in my second year, because I underpriced a contract and nearly went under trying to fulfill it. I had to let go of an employee I genuinely liked because the business simply couldn't carry the weight yet. I spent one entire Christmas alone in that office, eating takeout at my desk, because a deadline didn't care what day it was. Every single one of those moments could have broken me. None of them did, because I'd already survived the moment that was supposed to break me first. I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm telling you this because none of it would have happened if Daniel hadn't looked me in the eyes and told me I'd never make it. He gave me the one thing he never meant to give me, a reason to prove him wrong, quietly, patiently, without ever needing him to know I was doing it. But this story isn't just about business success. It's about something far more satisfying. So let's get to the part you've been waiting for, because I promise you it's worth it. Around this time, I started hearing things about Daniel through old mutual friends. Small updates at first, the kind that trickle in through group chats and half-forgotten social circles. He'd gotten engaged to the coworker, then married, a big wedding, the kind he always said he wanted. Then quieter whispers began. His finance firm had gone through a round of layoffs, and he was one of the names on the list. His new business ventures on the side hadn't gone as planned. The lifestyle he built himself, piece by expensive piece, was starting to crack at the edges. I felt nothing when I heard it. That surprised me. I expected satisfaction. Instead, I felt distant, like I was hearing about a stranger who used to matter to someone I used to be. Then, about 8 months ago, Grace sent me a message that changed everything. A property listing. The house. His house. The one with the brick and the big windows and the garden he talked about for years. It was going up for sale. Financial trouble. That's what she'd heard through people who still ran in his circles. A divorce that hadn't gone in his favor, along with some bad investments that drained him faster than he expected. The rose bushes he dreamed about, apparently, never got planted. I stared at that listing for a long time. Longer than I'd like to admit. And an idea started forming in my mind. Cold, quiet, calculated. The kind of idea that scares you a little because you know exactly how far you're willing to take it. I did something I'm not proud of that night. I looked him up. Properly for the first time in years. His social media told a very different story from the one he probably wanted people to believe. Old photos still up of the two of them on a beach somewhere. Captions about building a future together. Newer posts sparse, careful. The kind people write when they're trying to convince themselves as much as anyone watching. A comment from a friend, months old, asking if he was doing all right, left unanswered. Grace did some digging of her own, the kind you can only do when you still know people who know people. She found out the divorce had taken almost everything liquid he had. The investments he'd been so proud of at parties had collapsed quietly, the way most bad decisions do, without an audience. The house was the last asset with any real equity left in it, and even that wasn't enough to cover what he owed. I felt something shift in my chest reading all of that. Not joy exactly. Something closer to recognition. Like watching a version of the future I once feared for myself, except it had landed on him instead. I didn't decide right away. I want to be honest about that. It took weeks of thinking, of talking myself in and out of it, lying awake replaying that dinner, that wine glass, those 6 words, before I finally made the call. I contacted a solicitor and set up a private limited company under a name that had nothing to do with me. No connection anyone could trace back in a casual search. I wanted this deal to move through paperwork and lawyers only. No names. No faces. Just numbers on a page, cold and clean. I made an offer on the house through that company. Full asking price. No negotiation. I wanted it fast, clean, and impossible for the seller to walk away from, because I knew if there was any hesitation, any delay, he might find a way to hold on to it. It worked. The sale went through in 6 weeks. 6 weeks, and the house Daniel once said I'd never be good enough to have my name on now belonged, quietly, entirely to me. I sat in my car outside that house the day the papers finalized, engine off, hands still on the wheel, and I didn't cry the way I expected to. I just breathed. Slow and steady. Like something inside me had finally exhaled after 6 years of holding its breath. But I want to pause here, because the real payoff isn't the house. It's what happened after. And this is the part one know you've been waiting for, so stay close. I didn't move in right away. I let the paperwork settle quietly. I let a few months pass, furnishing the place slowly, room by room, making it mine in every sense of the word. And then I did something I'd been planning since the moment I saw that listing. I hosted a small housewarming. Nothing extravagant. A handful of close friends, soft lighting, wine on the table, exactly like that night years ago. Except this time, I was the one sitting comfortably in the seat that mattered, and he was nowhere in the room. Except he found out. Of course he found out. Word travels fast in small circles, and one of the guests, without realizing the history, mentioned the new owner's name to someone who still knew Daniel from their old finance circle. He called me 2 days later. First time in over 2 years. I stared at his name on my screen for a long moment before I answered, half expecting my hands to shake. They didn't. His voice was different, smaller somehow, stripped of the confidence that used to fill every room he walked into. He asked if it was true, if I'd actually bought his house. I could hear something crack underneath the question. Not anger. Something closer to disbelief, maybe even something close to fear. I kept my voice calm, steady. The same tone he used on me in that restaurant all those years ago, the tone I'd practiced in my head 100 times without even realizing it. I told him yes. I told him I remembered exactly what he said to me over wine, in a restaurant, about never making it. And I told him that the deed sitting in my name was proof enough of how wrong he'd been. He tried to backtrack, tried to explain himself, stumbling over half-formed excuses. Said he was young, said he didn't mean it the way it sounded, said a lot of things people say when the truth finally catches up to them faster than they can outrun it. I let him talk. I let him fill the silence with every excuse he had, because I wanted him to hear how hollow they sounded once they were finally out in the open air. And then I said something I'd rehearsed in my head more times than I'll ever admit, lying awake on that old mattress years ago. You didn't build me, Daniel. You broke me open. And I built myself back from what was left. He didn't have a response for that. There was just silence on the other end of the phone. A long, heavy silence that felt like it stretched out every single year I'd spent proving him wrong. One client, one sleepless night, one small victory at a time. I ended the call gently. No shouting. No drama. Just quiet closure, the kind that doesn't need an audience to feel complete. He tried calling back once more that same week. I let it ring out. Then a text came through, short, almost pleading, asking if we could talk properly, in person this time. I stared at it for a long while before I typed back 4 words. There's nothing left to say. I didn't hear from him again after that. Grace asked me later if I felt guilty. I thought about it honestly before I answered her. I didn't take anything from Daniel that he hadn't already lost through his own choices. I didn't ruin his marriage. I didn't tank his investments. I didn't cost him his job. All I did was show up, quietly, with a signature and a bank transfer. At the exact moment his own decisions had already emptied the house out from under him. I simply made sure that when it finally sold, it landed with the one person who understood exactly what that house was supposed to mean. Some people would call that petty. I call it poetic. Since then, I've walked through that garden he used to talk about almost every evening. The one he picked paint colors for. The one he said I'd never deserve to stand in. I stand in it now with my coffee every morning. And I think about that girl on the mattress on the floor, crying because she believed a man's cruel words more than she believed in herself. I wish I could go back and tell her something. I wish I could tell her that the words that break you can also build you, if you let them, if you refuse to let them be the final word on who you are. That the people who underestimate you are sometimes the exact reason you push hard enough to prove them wrong. I don't regret loving Daniel when I was 18. I don't even regret the pain he caused, because without it, I don't think I'd have found the version of myself I like the most. The version who doesn't wait for anyone's permission to be enough. The version who turned a cruel sentence into a foundation instead of a grave. If there's one thing I want you to take from this, it's this. Never let someone's opinion of your potential become your ceiling. The people who tell you that you'll never make it are usually the ones most afraid that you will, because your success would force them to confront everything they gave up on in themselves. So if you're sitting somewhere right now, feeling small because of something someone said to you, someone who was supposed to love you, supposed to support you, I want you to hear me clearly. Their words are not your future. Your future is still yours to write, one quiet decision at a time. Build something they said you couldn't. Prove it quietly. Let the results speak louder than any argument ever could. Revenge doesn't have to be loud to be complete. Sometimes the coldest, calmest version of it is the one that lands the hardest. If this story meant something to you, hit subscribe, because there are more stories like this coming, real ones, raw ones, the kind that remind you what quiet strength actually looks like when it's finally allowed to grow. Drop a comment, and tell me what you would have done in my position. Would you have bought the house, or would you have walked away and never looked back? And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, someone who's been told they'll never make it, someone sitting on their own version of that mattress on the floor, send this to them. Sometimes all it takes is one story to remind someone that the ending hasn't been written yet. Because sometimes, the loudest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply becoming exactly who they said you never could be, and letting them watch from a distance they can never close again.